anybody that talks about him on the internet. And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Thursday, November 17th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer, and we are brought to you by Prize Picks. We've got a weird one today. 3-game slate, and it locks at 10 p.m. So the night slate is the main slate for today. 2 games at 10, 1 at 10:30, which means we are going to have plenty of time to do some prep later tonight. But that doesn't mean we don't do prep earlier in the day. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, how was your Wednesday? I know nothing that happened other than Steph is exceptional, and so is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, Gilgeous-Alexander, fantastic. Beat the Wizards on a step back. Big game from Anthony Edwards as well. My day was fine. Broke even on Yahoo, lost a bit on DraftKings, had too much DeAndre Ayton. Yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of a normal-ish slate.
Fair enough. Nothing worked out for me on Tuesday night, so I didn't have to worry too much about late swapping while I was driving. Once Nurk got ruled in, it wasn't so bad. He would have been the cause to make major changes, but nothing mattered because Isaiah Hartenstein picked up 2 fouls in the first, I don't know, in pregame warmups, and then barely played in the first half. So that one sucked clean out of the gate.
Yeah, also kind of messed myself up yesterday. I talked about it on the show with Alex that with Chris Paul out and Landry Shamet out, the Suns have been playing a really condensed rotation and a ton of minutes. And so I projected it that way. And then I'm just getting tons of Mikal Bridges and Torrey Craig. And I'm like, all right, maybe I don't need to give them, I don't need to go to 34 minutes on Craig and 40 on Bridges. So I walk it back, and then they both just go nuts at no ownership.
There you go. Always trust yourself, because it's way easier to just continue to be mad at yourself.
Right.
I don't want to regret my own mistakes.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's still it worked out okay because so I was overweight on both guys on the main slate. I'm almost positive. And then on the night slate, I still you got Bridges at 18%. I played 45, but
okay.
I didn't play as much Craig as I would have. So yeah, it could have been a lot better.
You ready to break down this weird ass 3-gamer in Portland, Sacramento, and LA? So it's just one of those schedule quirks where the 3 teams that are the home teams just happen to be on the West Coast.
Yeah, and for anybody who was a fan of the Drunk Adam show, schedulers really, really playing, tempting fate here, putting me on a 9 p.m. show tonight.
All righty. Well, let's kick it off. Let's kick it off. Brooklyn Nets, 2-point dogs, 220 total here. They are in Portland for this one. For the Brooklyn side, we kind of know what's going on. There's no Kyrie Irving still. Looks like he might be back for the next one. And then still no TJ Warren. So we have what we think is the normal Brooklyn rotation, which means let's start here. How do we split down the center minutes? Do you expect Ben Simmons to play alongside Nick Claxton? Do we expect Nick Claxton to play more than 16 minutes in a game for the first time in a while?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how to treat this. Yep. We did see Ben Simmons sub in alongside Nick Claxton in the first quarter last game. So that was new. They played alongside each other a little bit. Most of the game, they still didn't. But another thing that was weird about that game was Domantas Sabonis was absolutely destroying Nick Claxton in the post.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The question to me now becomes, if Nick Claxton isn't getting abused on the defensive end, were we just going to see a bunch of Ben Simmons alongside Nick Claxton? Or were we still just going to see Ben Simmons playing in place of Nick Claxton? Simmons looked really good. Simmons was playing aggressively. He was attacking the rim. He looked like Ben Simmons for the first time in a really, really long time. So I do think you continue to see those minutes, at least as long as he's playing like he wants to play basketball. The question to me is just, do they play alongside each other? Because that ended up being a game where they needed Ben Simmons to play center defensively because Claxton could not do it. Here you have a matchup with Nurk. So, I mean, you could run into the same issue again where Claxton's just getting beat up. I will say, I'd already said previously that I was concerned about Claxton's playing time with Simmons being in. I am certainly not less concerned after seeing what they did last game. So I think that paying attention to ownership on Claxton is going to be really big. Right now, he's pulling 29% on DraftKings. The issue is that he's 5,500. Even if he plays like 24 minutes, he can pretty easily get there on a 3-game slate at 5,500. So if you go under the field on him, it's not even like you're safe. Like, you can get the rotation right. You can be like, Claxton plays 24, Simmons plays 28, and then you still just get burned because Claxton goes for 30. So it's a really, really tough spot. I think there's a lot of volatility here, and a lot of it's just going to depend on how Claxton's playing defensively and how Simmons is playing offensively.
What do you expect to go to for Nick Claxton today?
I'll probably go like 26 for them.
Okay. I went 27 to Claxton so far. Don't exactly feel comfortable with it. And I don't really have a great feel for what I should do for Simmons either. Would you assume that Simmons was going to close that most recent game?
Without a doubt.
Okay. So you think that 20 minutes that he played is 26?
Yeah, at least.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
like. I assume you were going to get a similar fourth quarter rotation as you did third quarter or second quarter rather. Okay. Simmons started the second quarter, played 6 minutes, and then came in and played the final 3 minutes of the half.
Okay. Anything else you want to touch on between Claxton and Simmons? Because I think that's like the main key talking point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot's just going to depend on how the game is going. I will, to reiterate, like, they were talking on the broadcast about, Ben Simmons kind of feeling more comfortable and acknowledging he needed to be more aggressive and stuff and actually doing it. So I don't know. I'm relatively optimistic about Simmons. I jokingly tweeted while I was watching the game that game was going to set me back a month because I'm going to just go back to playing him. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Right now we have 4% ownership going to Simmons and 29 going to Claxton. I will say if that holds, I am a hell of a lot more interested in Simmons.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of rates just make it way easier to feel comfortable about that sort of play. Do you like Simmons? Like ignoring ownership right now, is Simmons even a good play at 5,400 on DK or 5,700 on FanDuel?
I think so. Especially, okay. I mean, if you're including ownership, then absolutely. But even without it, I mean, he's at 0.9 DraftKings points per minute overall this year. If you think he's going to play 24 to 26 minutes at 5,400, that's fine anyway. And then, like we had talked about before, there's a very, very good chance that 0.9 DraftKings points per minute is like the low mark that we see probably for the rest of Ben Simmons' career, at least until like he has no athleticism left. So there's a good chance that he's a better point per minute guy than that going forward. I don't think he had a particularly good fantasy game last time out, but there were also just a lot of missed opportunities where, he's passing the ball to guys that suck and they're missing shots and, all of that. So I like Simmons here one way or the other.
I think the play for Simmons is the ownership play, not necessarily. Like, I don't think that he looks very good as a play, just in general, context agnostic. But then you look at Royce O'Neal's projection for today, and you look at Ben Simmons' projection if he's going to play 26 minutes. Those guys are going to have very similar fantasy point outlooks, but one of those guys is 24% owned, the other is 5%. Similar story for Claxton with that relationship, where is Claxton going to project better than Ben Simmons? Yes. Is it at 28-5? No. I think you're just going to find a lot of guys that are going to have very similar raw point projections to Simmons that people are just ignoring.
Yeah, I agree. And the other, I guess, caveat here is there is a chance that this is just Seth Curry from last slate and that everything is completely wrong and everybody's playing Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we were right. And, like he played 24 minutes. They got absolutely eviscerated.
Oh, yeah. He played 15 minutes in the first half.
Yeah. So, right again, as per usual. No surprises there. How amazing... I mean this sincerely, and I know you're going to agree with me. How amazing would our lives be if we were rewarded for when we were right? Because I don't feel like we ever are.
What'd you say?
How amazing would our lives be if we got rewarded when we were right?
Oh, you mean instead of just like the game blowing out or Curry not making any shots while he's out there or whatever?
Right. Yeah. Right. Like we can be on it. Public could be late to the draw. Everybody could be late to the draw. Like we're dialed in. We know this. It's very obvious information. We get exactly what needs to happen. And it's just like, oh no, he went 1 for 27 from 3. Right. Most attempts ever, but he didn't make one or something.
Right. Yeah, no, I had said something like a few years ago. I remember saying like, obviously it would be like the worst actual game because like there would be no dead money in it. But like fantasy football, but you get points for like targets and, every like opportunities instead of like what actually happens.
Let's we should be able to be pretty quick here. Kevin Durant is 11-6 on DraftKings, 11-5 on FanDuel. It's a 3-game slate. Raw points matter. Kevin Durant is just a part of everything. 22% owned on DraftKings, 40% owned on FanDuel. The real question when it comes to guys like this are, how do you look at them in relationship to the other potential pay up options? Because there's not a scenario in the world where somebody's going to be like, don't like Kevin Durant tonight. That's just a terrible take. How do you compare him to a 10-2 Paul George or a 10K Damian Lillard?
I still think he looks favorable, but it's the price tag, makes it a little bit more comparable. He's 1,400 more than George. He's 1,600 more than Dame. I don't know. Maybe Brooklyn just freezes out Kevin Durant and nobody will pass him the ball today. But you get the Kyrie Irving game where he's just running around the floor not doing anything. But no, I mean, I think Durant obviously looks good. He projects as the top scorer on the slate. It's a 3-game slate. Yeah, he looks great. It's just a matter of he is a lot more expensive than not only those guys, but you also have a $9,400 Sabonis, a 9K Fox, a pretty strong 6 to 7K range for a 3-game slate. So I think that's why you're only seeing 22% ownership, despite the fact that it is a 3-game slate.
There is no one in the 8Ks today. There's a $1,400 gap between $7,600 Jeremy Grant and 9K De'Aaron Fox. That'll be interesting for builds because that's a pretty big chasm. Is there anything else we should be talking about here for Brooklyn? Joe Harris, our boy Seth Curry, whose minutes should probably be even higher than we thought they were for Tuesday. Edmund Sumner is not that guy. It doesn't seem, I don't really see too much else for Brooklyn, even though on a 3-gamer, like the ass end of this Brooklyn rotation could be the thing that matters.
So I do want to go right back to Seth Curry. I think similarly, you can go back to Joe Harris. He was absolutely awful, but he's another one where typically you're going to see around 30 minutes from him. One rotation piece that was interesting was that Yuta Watanabe returned and also played substantial minutes. He actually subbed in before Cam Thomas did in both halves. He had subbed in early in the third quarter for Edmund Sumner. Sumner got to play the first minute and a half, and then they brought Watanabe in. But he also, in the first half, Simmons and Curry were the first 2 subs in at the same time, then Watanabe, then Cam Thomas, then Patty Mills. Watanabe is pulling 2% ownership at 3,400. He's not a great point per minute guy. Who knows how many minutes he plays, but with it being a 3-game slate, he is somebody where there's a lot of ways this could break where you just get enough Watanabe minutes for him to look decent.
All righty. Anything else here for Brooklyn? As weird as it sounds, like they seem pretty easy to project. They don't look very good.
They're easy to project. They're really difficult to decide if Nick Claxton or Ben Simmons or Royce O'Neal are going to be the highest scorer out of those 3, or is it going to be Joe Harris versus Seth Curry, versus Cam Thomas? Like, they just have a lot of shit that looks similar.
They really do. Lucky Brooklyn. Well, maybe we'll get some more nice tidbits out of Kevin Durant and his thoughts on what the starting lineup for Brooklyn looks like, because calling them straight ass in an interview that's one way to do it. I appreciate the honesty. Like, he's right. You don't ever see anybody do that, but he did not say anything incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fake quote when I saw it. But it's like, is this team mandated to just like do something stupid every week?
Probably.
Like, you finally have the Kyrie stuff blowing over, and then you just have Durant being like, "Yo, how do you expect me to win with this shit?"
Yeah, it's you wonder why I wanted to trade, man. Edmund Sumner's not that guy.
Right? Yeah, I get blasted for wanting a trade to a quote unquote super team. And I'm playing next to Edmund fucking Sumner.
He's going to have to buy a round of beers after that one. On the Portland side, we've got the
to be fair, they're probably going to have like this entire starting lineup replaced soon.
That's also true.
Because like Kyrie's going to be back. Eventually Seth Curry's going to be in it.
What a team. What a team. Chandre says Durant is a fool. That makes perfect sense. He's the only one in this scenario that isn't a fool.
Right.
So I'm not shocked that you think he's a fool. He's spot on. Absolutely spot on. Do you remember what we did on Tuesday?
The same guy was in my Twitter replies the other day defending the worst quarterback in the NFL. So,
I mean, there's 100 answers for that.
Heineke.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I should have
told me to stop hating on like the just clear worst quarterback in the league.
I feel like every quarterback's terrible except for like 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, Heineke's a good backup. Like, I don't. Yeah, whatever. I like Heineke. I'm glad he's Washington's backup. I would prefer him to not keep the starting job when the starter gets healthy.
On Tuesday, we had Q tags on Yusuf Nurkic, Justice Winslow, and Keon Johnson. We got Nurk, sort of. We did not get Winslow and Keon Johnson, but we have the same sort of injury status for today. Let's start here with Yusuf Nurkic. Assuming he plays, does he play 4-minute rotations to start every quarter again? Because
I hope not, because if he plays, I am probably going to play him. But yeah, that was pretty frustrating. I hadn't actually gone back to look to see what happened, but yeah, he was just playing extremely abbreviated rotations. He subbed out, like, he got a foul, but it was one foul, and they took him out. So that shouldn't have had anything to do with anything.
yeah.
Got a second foul, but then played another minute and a half and came out. I have no idea what to make of those rotations. And because it's not even like he was matching up with Pirtle or something. Like,
I think that it's a sign of how injured he is.
yeah, I was gonna say I actually think that does need to be, like, I can't just project him for 29 minutes today.
No, I gave him 26, and I don't exactly like that either. Just with the off chance that, maybe he can close too. But as of right now, I feel like I want to go 20 minutes to Yusuf Nurkic.
Yeah, like, especially if Winslow's back.
So that is a huge piece. But, like, obviously there's trickle down now to Drew Eubanks for this. So I don't, like, it's not as if Yusuf Nurkic was just playing 34 minutes a game. I mean, like, earlier he was, but I don't think they feel I don't expect him to play. I don't know how you can go higher than 28 on Nurk. And I do think that 20 is the most realistic scenario for today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. It's a really weird spot because on the one hand, if he's this hurt, why is he playing?
It's a great question.
Like what are you doing? On the other hand, what the hell was that rotation, and how am I supposed to project him for anything close to normal minutes? It's just like, but it doesn't logically make sense for him to be playing at a physical point where he can only play 20 minutes.
I agree with you. I find this all to be legitimately weird.
So
I got no idea.
I will say they were getting destroyed when he was out there. Minus 12 right out of the gate. He subs out. They win the rest of the quarter. He subs back in, minus 9 right out of the gate. He goes back to the bench. They win the rest of the quarter. They were plus 2 to start the third. He did play a little bit longer in the third than he did in the first. Subs in the fourth, minus 4 right out of the gate, goes back to the bench. They're plus 7 rest of the game. It could have just been he was playing like shit / the matchup wasn't going how they wanted it. I think it could have just been a game flow thing.
Well, let me look at one thing here because I think this will tell the story. So Yusuf Nurkic does generally play at the start of the first quarter, the start of the second quarter, the start of the third quarter, and the start of the fourth quarter. Semi-regularly, he comes back in at the end of the second quarter, and then again, either playing the full fourth quarter obviously becomes like, matchup based and score based. But multiple times this season, let's say opening night for Portland, started the second quarter at center, came off for a minute or two, came back on and closed out the quarter. The 21st, the 23rd, the 24th, same rotations. Brief break in the second quarter, comes back on for the second quarter. After that, we started to see him not closing out the second quarter. He has done it twice since then. So it's sort of the normal rotation, but not really.
I think it was more a game flow thing than anything.
Feels like it. It's just weird. It's
because
a weird rotation. It just
doesn't logically make any sense for the plan going in to have been Nurkic can only play 16 minutes tonight.
I agree.
Now, I don't know if they were doing so poorly because he's not 100%. That's kind of, I guess, the risky question. But
yeah,
it does make me think there's at least a better chance that you get normal, at least close to normal, like Nurkic minutes here, because they were just getting worked the entire time he was on the floor in that game.
I gave him 24, and that's not exactly like the most comfortable thing in the world for me to do, but that feels fine. I think you get most of the rest of those minutes going to Drew Eubanks, and then the status of Justice Winslow sort of lets you know what they're going to do at the 5, because they could very easily have Justice Winslow / Jeremy Grant as the 5 for any sort of closing rotation.
I mean, I would, especially here,
Brooklyn.
like I would think there's a very good chance that you're getting that small closing lineup and that the Nets are closing with Simmons at the 5.
Agreed. Even if they close with Claxton at the 5,
yeah, like it's the same thing. I just think it's going to be 7.
Agreed. So with that said, 6,800 for Nurk on DraftKings, 6,600 on FanDuel, 10% owned. How do you feel?
I'll probably end up going like 24 to 26 minutes. It'll make him look decent. I would guess I end up getting around the field there.
Okay. Is Eubanks in play for you at all at 3,900?
Probably not. I mean, it is a 3-game slate, so there's that, but
game log chasers seeing 33 and 33 in back-to-back games might boost that ownership.
I mean, he played every minute that Nurk wasn't out there.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe like if I'm going to project, I think it depends on Winslow whether or not I'm interested in Eubanks. Because if Winslow is out, even if I go to 26 minutes on Nurk, that means I need to go to 22 on Eubanks. If I go 24 on Nurk, I need to go 24 on Eubanks, basically. And either of those are going to make him look decent. If Winslow is in, you can go 24 Nurk, 14, 16, 18 Eubanks, and the rest to Winslow, to where you're not really going to get to Eubanks.
Who's the best play on Portland today? Ownership is 18 to Grant, 16 to Simmons if you're illiterate, 13 to Damian Lillard, 18 to Josh Hart. It's very, very flat. Who's the best play?
Really flat. Clearly getting to Lillard is nice at 10K if you can. I think it's pretty much a correct price point. I think probably Simons or Grant are my favorite guys.
Simons is the guy grading out best for me. 7,300 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. Grant, very, very, very difficult to get to me on FanDuel. Public ownership stays there. I will have precisely 0. Jeremy Grant is 8,400 on FanDuel today. If we start lopping off a couple of these Q tags, maybe things will change. And I know he's playing pretty well. Still just a 0.93 fantasy point per minute guy so far this season on FanDuel. 8,400 is too much for Jeremy Grant. I don't know how he's getting 20% ownership.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think it does also, to some extent, probably depend on who's active for this team. Like, he's playing massive minutes right now without Winslow. You got 39 a couple games ago. You got 37.5 last game. Typically, I think you're in that like 35-minute range.
You got 42 last Thursday. In regulation, I might add.
You said last Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so like he's somebody that typically is giving you like 35, 36, but you can add a couple more minutes onto him if, Winslow's out again.
Okay. Yeah, I gave him 36 for the game. That will certainly go up if everybody ends up out, I guess.
Yeah. For the season, there's been 9 games where Lillard and Simons both play. 0.91 DraftKings points per minute for Grant in those games, 0.88 for Simons.
Okay. What else do you like for Portland here? Does anything stand out to you?
Not really. It's kind of just one of those teams that looks like everybody should be getting some ownership. Lillard, Grant, Simons, Nurk, Hart, Eubanks if Winslow's out. But there's not, one guy that just stands out where it's like, oh, this is the guy I really want.
Okay. Anything else here? I don't have much that I need to touch on other than the fact that I don't like Jeremy Grant on FanDuel.
No, that's all I got. Obviously. So again, like even though Justice Winslow, one way or the other, probably isn't a great DFS option, he does matter a ton for this team.
It's the trickle down if he's in or out is crazy. Apparently the trickle down for people on this slate is going to be very interesting for Keon Johnson as well. The amount of people that I saw see that Keon Johnson got ruled out and then swap off of Keldon Johnson to somebody else. I've seen the amount of messages in Discord, tweets that did that and it helped them because Keldon Johnson was awful is insane to me.
That's amazing.
Multiple people with the exact same issue of seeing that, swapping out and being like, and it worked. It's like, oh.
The guy projected for 0 minutes on the Blazers, if he was in, got ruled out. So I'm swapping off the 34-minute guy on the Spurs.
Incredible. All right, guys, hit that like button. 400 people in here, 64 likes. Let's go ahead and run that number up if we can. Adam and I are going to move it on. Actually, schedule for the rest of the day.
Horrible take. Holy shit.
What?
Anthony Simons is in the same category as DeJounte Murray and SGA if he gets enough touches.
I mean, DeJounte Murray and SGA aren't even in the
same category.
I was going to say SGA
is in his own tier there, but
That is not the correct take. It is not close. Anthony
If
Simons
Anthony
is
Simons
one of
was
the
in
worst defensive guards in basketball.
Well, and beyond, if Anthony Simons were in the same category as SGA, it wouldn't be if he got touches. He'd be getting his touches.
Yeah, exactly.
Put SGA next to Damian Lillard, and SGA is still being SGA.
Yes, but he is an abomination defensively. So even if we just want to start there. And DeJounte Murray, just not the same kind of player, considering he has no shooting ability whatsoever.
Right. SGA is kind of on his own thing here.
Yeah. And has been.
He has been. DeJounte Murray's really good. We're basically all that's happening here is that you guys don't, or you, Bilal, don't realize how good SGA is.
Yeah. And it's not even like a slight to Simons either. Like, not everybody just has to be a first team all NBA guy. Like, you could just be a really good NBA player.
Right.
But yeah, and he's good. He's a really good shooter. There are a lot of guys that have the skill set of Anthony Simons.
I know all players are not alike. That's why I'm telling you you're dumb for saying that Anthony Simons is like SGA. SGA is way better.
Yeah. They're not close.
Simons is good. He's not SGA.
Yeah. He's good. He's an abysmal defender who gives back all of his offensive talent. And look, slightly above average shot creators that are a little decent in distribution. Like, these are the kind of guys that exist all over the NBA.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's true shooting percentage this year is 8 points higher than Anthony Simons on 7% more usage.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, it's also quite good defensively, or at the very least, quite active. 2.5% steal percentage right now, 90th percentile in basketball.
I did not like it at all, Christy.
I mean, kinda, but not really. I feel like if SGA is hitting a step back game winner, you like that more than a lot of other potential people shooting that.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if SGA is going to torch the Wizards or John Morant's going to torch the Wizards, I at least get like some entertainment value out of it because I love both of those dudes.
Alrighty, let's move it on to the next one. The San Antonio Spurs are 7-point dogs in Sacramento, 237 total. That's a 17-point increase over the first game we talked about, and 22 points over the 10:30 game. For San Antonio, it's standard. I don't know if that's a good thing. We have none of the guys that have just been out and not really a part of the lineup, other than Zach Collins, who's still out. There's a ton of ownership coming into San Antonio because the matchup against the terrible Kings defense is great. Keldon Johnson, 30% owned. Devin Vassell, 30% owned. Jakob Poeltl, 30% owned. Trey Jones, 30% owned. Josh Richardson, 30% owned. 10 to Sohan, McDermott, Keita Bates-Diop, Bassi. Everybody in the Spurs starting lineup is 10% owned or higher for today. Wherever you want to go. I don't even know what to talk about for this team.
SGA is closer to John Morant than Anthony Simons is to SGA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's close.
It's not close.
Yeah. SGA having nobody on his team is why his efficiency on that usage is so insanely impressive. It's not a knock on him.
No, it's not.
Yeah, for the Spurs, like, this team should just get a lot of ownership. You have several guys, Johnson, Poeltl, Vassell. All three of them average around 1.15 DraftKings points per minute. You're getting a ton of ownership coming in, 35% to Keldon, 26 to Poeltl, 30 to Vassell. Trey Jones at 6,100 should play low 30s. He's about a fantasy point per minute guy. So they all look really good. Josh Richardson getting 26% is odd. I guess it's probably just because it's a 3-game slate and you need to find some value somewhere, but not exactly sure why that's happening. It probably changes if anything opens up, but he is cheap, I guess. Jeremy Sohan getting half the ownership, kind of the same play as Richardson. That's another spot where, like, I don't like either of them, but if Richardson's going to be twice as popular as Sohan, I'd probably just play a little bit more Sohan. But those main four guys, Johnson, Poeltl, Vassell, Jones, all look like really, really good pieces. You can certainly play some Bassi at 4,400. Hope Poeltl gets in foul trouble. He's a really good point per minute guy when he's out there. He's just playing 48 minus Jakob Poeltl minutes.
And he's also not stupid cheap like he was before. The Bassey gimmick when he's 3,200 is very different than when he's 4,400. Let's see. I'm getting to a ton of Keldon Johnson on FanDuel over the 40% ownership. I'm basically a little over on Vassell on the 40% ownership. I'm very light on Trey Jones, who I was very heavy on 2 nights ago. So that one will probably come back to bite me in the ass. That feels likely, but it's really hard to get away from this San Antonio team. And, it's going to be hard to get away from this Kings team too, just because on a 3-game slate, this pace and this bad defense and this sort of style is just so much more likely to be the game that you need to corner the market on. Do you set rules for this San Antonio team?
What'd you say?
Do you set rules for this San Antonio team, given the way that everybody is pulling ownership?
Pirtle Bassey.
Yeah. Okay.
That's probably the only one. I mean, like, you assume the closing lineup is going to be Pirtle, Vassell, Jones, Johnson, and then one of Sohan, Richardson, Bates, Diop, McDermott. Like, any of those guys could be in there. But they're cheap enough where on a 3-gamer, I don't care to set a rule for one, because you can very easily just get, like, Sohan can play 28 minutes and be a good play, and Josh Richardson in 24 minutes can also be a good play, so I don't need to filter them out. It's less likely that the reason I mentioned Pirtle and Bassey, even though Bassey's cheap, is like, if Bassey plays 20 to 22 minutes and really destroys that $4,400 salary, that means you also need Pirtle to crush 7,200 in 26 minutes, which is a lot less likely.
Yeah, that's a little trickier. I don't really know what else to say for San Antonio. Like, it really is a play them all.
DeJounte's a great shooter who has a true shooting percentage more than 10 points lower than SGA.
Yeah, he is not a great shooter. Never has been. Not his type of game. Never been
very,
an
very good
player.
At a lot of things. That's not one of them.
If he were a great shooter, he'd still be on the Spurs.
I mean, I don't think they got rid of him because he's bad.
Well, no, but like, it's a lot easier to want to keep him around and max him out later on if, like, that flaw isn't there.
Sure.
He's an all NBA point guard that's 26. Like, you just keep them.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say for San Antonio. I just kind of like everything. On DraftKings, at least. On FanDuel, I'm a little bit more pessimistic.
Yeah, Bates Diop played a lot of minutes again last game. I don't think we can totally rely on that, but so, like, you got 17 minutes from McDermott, 26 from Bates Diop, 24 from Richardson. I think the Bates Diop McDermott minutes balance out a pretty high percentage of the time.
What do you think will happen when Pop gives Keita Bates Diop the keys to the Spurs?
Was that a real take?
It's been Drop Rose has been calling for it in chat the entire time we've been talking about the Spurs. He's the guy.
Yeah, no, I don't even know where to go with that.
On the Sacramento Kings side, we are waiting on the news of Keegan Murray. He is questionable, left Tuesday's game early. It was going well for Terrence Davis either way, but boy, oh boy, did that really turn the dial up once Murray left. That said, I love getting to Sacramento in the same way that I like getting to the Spurs side. De'Aaron Fox is 9K on DraftKings, probably the best play of the day today. Sabonis at 9,400 looks great. Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter totally look fine. Sabonis at 10-2 on FanDuel now, which is kind of crazy. I just want to get to the Sacramento Kings because this matchup is great.
Agreed. This game is just going to be really nice to get to. Sabonis at 9,400 looks really good. De'Aaron Fox at 9K looks great. Fox is having a really strong season for the Kings. Also playing better than Anthony Simons. 1.35 DraftKings points per minute, 62.8% true shooting percentage on about a 30% usage rate. Also a 31% assist percentage. So really, really like him. Sabonis, as long as he can avoid foul trouble, is going to give you typically 34 or 35 minutes. He's averaging over 1.3 DraftKings points per minute this year. Both guys are just going to look really, really good. They're, I kind of mentioned them earlier as two more guys that you can kind of throw into the mix where it makes it sort of difficult to get to Durant, assuming that you don't have enough value where you're just able to comfortably jam in Durant plus Fox or Durant plus Sabonis. Then there's going to be a lot of times where I just am like, oh, well, I can just play Fox, Sabonis and get a better lineup than if I go to Durant. So both of those guys look good. Harrison Barnes at 4,900 looks fine. Keegan Murray left last game early. He is questionable. We got a massive Terrence Davis game last time out. He's 4,300 now. If Keegan Murray is out, we saw Davis start the second half. If Murray is in, you're probably getting mid-teens from Davis, and he can pretty safely be ignored.
So, who starts if Murray's out?
My guess is Davis.
Okay.
Just based on last game. That could have also
Fair.
been because Davis was playing out of his mind.
Okay.
Davis had played 10 and a half minutes in the second quarter, had 5 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 assists, and was 4 of 5 shooting, including 2 of 3 from 3. So it could have just been like, all right, whatever. We're just going to put this guy right back on the floor. Like you could get, a Malik Monk start here. With the Kings are another one of those teams where like you can basically name anybody and it could be them because Harrison Barnes can play any position. Kevin Huerter can play the 2 or the 3. So like you can go with Davis, you can go with Monk, you can go with some random placeholder that
you go with Mitchell and move Huerter to the 3.
Right. Yeah. Like typically they're not playing Mitchell alongside Fox. So I think he's the least likely, but there's just a lot of ways that can go. It's most likely either Monk or Davis if Murray's out.
Alrighty. Anything else for the Kings?
Who was starting before Murray moved into the starting lineup? I don't even remember.
For those first 3 games of the year?
Yeah. I don't know. It could also be Trey Lyles.
It might have been Trey Lyles. Man, I legitimately don't remember. Wasn't Monk? Wasn't Mitchell? Oh, it was Casey Okpala.
That was like once, I thought.
First 3 games of the year.
Okay. So we're now at, I said Fox's usage is about 30%, and Bilal corrected to 29.2.
Oh, man, that shit rounds up with another 3,000th of a percentage point. But okay.
Yeah, and not to mention the site that I use has it at 29.8. But yeah, I guess that's one way to take your massive hell on Anthony Simons is to correct that.
Well, one thing you don't want to correct is how good the offer is at Prize Picks. If you sign up using the link in the description, you can get up to $100 on your first deposit. They'll just match it. So you put in 75, they'll give you 75. But if you put in 100, they will give you 100. You don't need an optimizer. You're picking player props. You'll net up to 10x your entry fee if you get 5 of them correct. I'm going to hit Adam with a couple points props. This should be fun. Unfortunately, they don't have any of it. Well, they do have one for somebody that we've been talking about. Anthony Simons over under 20.5 real points. Kings been lighting it up at home recently. We are 12 games into this NBA season. So isn't all of are they not all recent?
What was the line?
20.5.
That's what we have.
I have 21.9, actually. I'm a big Simons stan.
If it was SGA, I'd sure as shit take the over.
Yeah, no shit. We'll stay on the same team. Damian Lillard, 24.5.
We have 23.9. We also have 34 minutes. So I think I would take the over.
I have it quite a bit over that number as well. So Team Dame, I guess. Who else can we touch on? Well, let's go to KD on the Brooklyn Nets, 30.5. Actually, I have the under, and I don't like that.
30.5. We have 30.3.
Yeah. Doesn't feel good to ever take an under on KD's scoring. This
is kind of like I joked earlier about them freezing him out. This does kind of feel like a low-key Kyrie, like that Kyrie game where it was like he's either going to go nuts or he's just going to pout and do nothing. Like Kyrie or Durant's a pretty emotional dude. Like I could see it, the ball's going to be in his hands a lot is the thing, but I could see him kind of just deciding to just torch everything today or just being disinterested.
I don't think there's any situation where he would ever be disinterested. I think he cares differently about basketball. Yeah. I think that he could go DEFCON on everybody and never pass.
Yeah, I
think it's way more likely that it's a positive thing for Kevin Durant.
Right. It's either neutral or it's it's the opposite of the Gilbert Arenas game where he just didn't take a shot the entire first half.
Yeah,
Kevin Durant just shoots every possession.
Yeah, he's not an on-court quitter. That's not in. No, he's not that kind of guy.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But he's definitely petty enough to be like, yo, I'm taking 55 shots.
Right. Yeah, it shouldn't surprise anybody if this is the most Kevin Durant shoots in a game all season.
Yeah. All righty, guys, go check out Prize Picks. They are the presenting sponsor of this show. We close it out, late night hammer, 30 minutes after the 10 o'clock double starts. And this one's just really going to be a pain in the ass. Do you know why it's going to be a pain in the ass, Adam?
I wasn't even listening to you.
This game being 30 minutes after the first two is a pain in the ass because there is a Q tag on Paul George.
Oh, yeah, that's problematic.
And obviously no Kawhi. On the Pistons side...
I thought you meant the Q tag on Corey Joseph.
No. Q tag on Corey Joseph. No Cade Cunningham and no Beef Stew out for probably, 2-3 weeks with a sprained big toe. So my guess is that we get Saddiq Bey back into the starting lineup. Apparently God did not like him moving to the bench, so he got him right back in there. And I think we're about to be getting Marvin Bagley starting center, at which point, oh boy, should the Clippers be salivating because he might be the worst defensive option at center in the league. That said, we've got Jaden Ivey now running the show. Saddiq Bey, back to where he should be. Killian Hayes, who knows? Marvin Bagley, who knows? What do we do with Detroit?
Yeah, it's interesting team, I guess. Like Jaden Ivey played 34 minutes again last game. He's been productive without Cunningham on the floor. 1.1 DraftKings points per minute, 32.5% usage rate, 28.9% assist percentage. I know someone messaged or tweeted at me like at halftime and was like, "Can we just give up on this Jaden Ivey shit now?" And then he just scores like 40 fantasy points or whatever he did. So going right back to Jaden Ivey at 6,900 without Cunningham. That price tag is getting a little bit more aggressive, but it's only a 3-game slate, so he's going to look pretty good. Bagley played 28 minutes last game. That was good to see from just a playing time standpoint, nearly 29 minutes actually. Wasn't great fantasy-wise, but he's typically around the fantasy point per minute guy. He's 5,900. That's going to look like a reasonable play here. Only getting 8% ownership seems a little bit low. Saddiq Bey, assuming he's back in the starting lineup at 5,600, looks fine. So does Boyan. Killian Hayes at 5K, I think is fine. The Alec Burks piece at 4,500 is kind of interesting, only pulling 5% ownership. He had played 24, 25 minutes in his first game back. Then he only played 17 last game. I still think that you can get those mid-20s games here and there from him. And then similarly, Jalen Durant not really getting any ownership as Bagley's backup. $4,100, 6% ownership, probably playing every minute that Bagley's not on the floor. I think he's an interesting tournament play.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm getting a ton of Bagley on FanDuel. He has the power forward eligibility as well, 5,700. And I think that I gave him 29 minutes. I think that's like a pretty reasonable thought process. He shouldn't close for NBA teams. He probably shouldn't close for G League teams, but it's the Pistons. Like, they don't really have a shit ton of options other than, they clearly like Bagley. They gave him a deal that no one else was going to give him in the offseason. So, and we're ready to play Twin Towers and boot Saddiq Bey out of the starting lineup for it. So I might be light on 29 minutes for Bagley.
What did you say?
Like, I said I'm probably light on 29 minutes for Marvin Bagley. I think he's live for 32 in best case scenarios.
Maybe. Like I'm just basically gonna go with the same projection I've been doing with Stewart: 29 Bagley, 19 Durant.
I did the exact same thing, so I'm with you. But to me, there's a scenario where Marvin Bagley is just playing straight up real center minutes.
I just don't know why.
I love him anyway.
Like, if they're not going to do that with Isaiah Stewart, I don't know why they would do it with Bagley. But
I think they like Bagley more than they like Isaiah Stewart.
Right? Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I don't think they're making the right decision to begin with. I wouldn't start Marvin Bagley. So we're already doing something. I wouldn't have given him the contract that he got.
Right.
So there are many clicks ahead of us. I think Ivy is pretty clearly the best guy here. I'm getting to a ton, but I'm also getting to a bunch of Saddiq Bey. What do we do with Killian Hayes now? He played 34 and 35 minutes in back-to-back games, played 24 this last time out. Are you just assuming, something around 30 for him starting at the 2?
Yeah, I typically
starting at the 1,
30,
however you want to say that.
Yeah, I typically go 30 just because, I think there's clearly the path to him getting 34 to 36. We've seen it recently, but he's also just not very good. And when you have a team that has a lot of interchangeable pieces like this, those minutes can just so easily become Alec Burks, or if Diallo is playing well, it can be Diallo. It can be Isaiah Livers, we saw it in the closing lineup last game. So there's just so many ways where it can go, because kind of to the point you just said where you call Hayes the 1 or the 2. It's not like you need to replace him with a point guard. You have Jaden Ivey. So if you don't want Killian Hayes on the floor, you can kind of just make him anybody else, and it works with this team. So I go around 30 minutes when I project him. knowing that he kind of has like a equal probability of playing 24 or 25 minutes as he does playing 34 or 35.
Anybody you want to take a flyer on from the bench more so than others? I'm guessing Burks is the sort of first choice, but we did see Isaiah Livers. I'm never going to get that dude's name right. We did see him close this most recent game.
Yeah, I think that was kind of just fluky, but to me, that just kind of reinforces that the closing lineup here is probably, like, barring foul trouble or injury or insanely bad performance, like we saw that one game from Ivy. But the closing lineup is Ivy, Bogdanovich, Bay, one of Bagley, Durant, and then whoever they want in the heat of the moment, whether that is Killian Hayes, Alec Burks, Amadou Diallo, Isaiah Livers. One of those guys is in the closing lineup.
Josh says everyone sucks when they don't have defense because that's half of the game. I'm not trying to evaluate Marvin Bagley's skills defensive or like for DFS. He's objectively ass because he can't play half of the game.
And he plays a pretty important position too.
Oh, when it comes to defense. The most important position to be good on defense? Right. I wonder why the Sacramento Kings defense is 27th in the league right now. Could it be because Domantas Sabonis is ass defensively? I wonder how these things work. I mean, we're comparing him to Jabari, but we're bringing the Jabari Parker shit back. What are we doing here? I can't. Let's close this out. Clip show. Paul George questionable. Luke
maybe this
Kennard,
guy's just like maybe he's Mike Krzyzewski's burner.
Maybe we'll see how he talks about Paolo when he comes back. Yeah, right. Why don't Christian Wood and Şengün play more? Yeah, it's almost like they have to play defense too. Yeah. Clippers, Paul George, Q tag. I think he looks incredible on FanDuel at 9,400 if he's playing. That's the huge issue here. The fact that he's just not priced correctly for today's slate. We saw Marcus Morris get 36 minutes again. Zubats plays the same sort of rotation every time. There's 20% ownership going to all these guys. But I think the most interesting piece that we need to talk about is John Wall and Reggie Jackson played the entire third quarter together in their most recent game.
Yeah, do you think Wall starts? Kennard's doubtful.
I said it on the process show today that like that sort of thing makes me think they do that. I just don't know if that's what they want to do with Wall yet.
Yeah, they kind of had been trending that direction. So last game, you got clearly a bunch of minutes alongside Jackson when they started Wall with Kennard hurt. 2 games ago, Wall sat out on the second half of the back-to-back. The game before that, they played them alongside each other a lot as well. That was the game where, going from memory, I think you got 33 minutes from Jackson and like 25 from Wall, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So they've been trending that direction. Again, I don't know. And Wall's playing time had been trending up also. So I don't know if they start him or if they just go to Terrence Mann and run John Wall more minutes off the bench. But I wouldn't be shocked. One way or the other, I'd feel better about projecting the minutes for both Jackson and Wall.
I gave Wall 26. I don't really feel comfortable there. Obviously, if he's starting, that changes the calculus of this right now. But without knowing that, I just think he's going to slowly but surely get a little bit more minutes because he's better than these other guys.
Yeah, I agree. One way or the other, I mean, if he starts, I'm probably going, 28, 30 minutes. If he's coming off the bench, I'm very comfortable living in the 24 to 26 range. I think he's getting his minutes one way or the other.
Agreed. Terrence Mann, probably the more likely guy to just slide into the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's probably how I'll project it. I just don't know that. And actually, I'm going to take that back. So if Wall comes off the bench, I'm fine going 24 to 26. He played 19 minutes in the second half. If he starts, honestly, 28 is probably too low.
I agree. If they're willing to play him for an entire third quarter, then I think he's just able to play. I don't think if he starts, you can go lower than 30.
Yeah. The really bizarre thing is then they didn't even stagger him in Jackson.
I know. It had a lot of when I looked at that rotation, I was like, shit, popcorn machine's broken again.
You're right. Yeah.
It just wasn't they didn't make subs in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Now they went on a hell of a run. They were
plus 17 out of the gate.
Yeah. So I don't want to look into that too much because they were cooking and Ty Lue was just go for it.
But also, do you follow that up by saying, oh yeah, we're not going to go right back to that the next game?
You would think. Hank the Tank with the super chat. Josh, same guy who picked Middleton over Butler. I'd go right back to that same day that I did it and do it again. I would never change my mind on that one. It just happened to be wrong.
After Jimmy Butler's performance yesterday, I think current Chris Middleton might be better. The one that hasn't stepped on the floor this year.
Yeah, I would not change my opinion, even though it ended up being incorrect in the grand scheme of things. Speaking of no defense, idiot. If he's trying to mention that that's Chris Middleton in this equation, I have no idea where we're going with this, but okay. What do we do with the rest of the Clippers here? Who benefits for Kennard being out? Does anybody benefit for Kennard being out? What the hell do we do if Paul George is out?
I mean, if Paul George is out, you're getting more usage for everybody.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't that good, but like you're getting more usage for Wall, you're getting more usage for Jackson, you're getting more from Morris. Without George on the floor this year, Powell's at 0.97 DraftKings points per minute, Zubats is at 1.1, Wall's at 1.2, Jackson's at 0.64. Reggie Jackson's played 93 minutes without Paul George on the floor this year. He has a 29.2% true shooting percentage. I thought it was his usage rate. He only has a 19% usage rate, but
he's so bad this year, man.
You would think that's gonna go up, but yeah, he's been horrible. Wall would certainly look better. Powell looks better. Man looks better. Zubats looks better. Like everybody basically looks better if George is out.
There's the they don't play defense now take coming back in. That's always a good one. Never played a more advanced and taxing defensive system in the history of the NBA, other than right now. But sure.
Yeah, it's almost like the offensive players have just gotten a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to be so smart and so athletic to be out there, or because if you don't have elite offensive skills, you just don't get to play basketball any longer.
I love how like half of the chat during these shows is always like, who is Drew Holiday defending? Who's Herbert Jones defending? Who's Dylan Brooks defending? Blah, 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 blah. And then the other half is matter. Nobody in the NBA plays defense.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I already thought it was established. Josh is the second worst expert at Osiomio Stokastic. Great spelling there.
I wonder what the worst is.
Probably you, but
I just assumed that would have been included.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
People are like, why did you change the name from the name that fucking everybody can't spell? Incredible. You should see the search traffic for, the amount of different variations on that one is staggering. All right. Anything else for the Clippers?
If George plays, he looks good. Zubats 6,400. I don't think we had specifically mentioned him, but perfectly fine getting there. Looks better without George, but looks good one way or the other. Marcus Morris 6,300. How many minutes did he play last game?
36 and a half.
Yeah, he got back to his 37 minutes. So it was a one game blip where he played 28. I'll go right back to 33 or 34 minutes for him.
Well, there we go, folks. Another one in the books. Be patient. Adam will have an injury report video and top plays out, and it'll be more relevant today because he's got a lot more time before lock. 10 p.m. lock tonight. Make sure you're watching live before lock tonight at 9 p.m. Good luck today, everybody. Enjoy your day. We'll talk to you later. Peace.